So I think most people have one of these kind of areas in their backyard. It's the side of the house where all of your utilities live, such as the hot water system, air conditioning units, all of those kind of things, and it is a very underutilized space. So I'm going to do a bit of a series on converting this western side of our house into a bit of a food growing haven. And my first thing is going to be planting some citrus trees. If you're new here, I'm Nikki and I'm on a mission to grow as much food as I can on our regular suburban block here in subtropical Australia. Our side area is on the western side of our house and is about 1 metre from the fence to the eaves of the house. It gets sun from about 9 a.m. in the morning and it's usually fully shaded by about 2 p.m. We have an air conditioner unit, a hot water system and a clothesline all along this area. There's also some crazy concrete tiled area that eventually we will rip up and do something with, but it's serving its purpose for now. We do have a vertical wall of pineapples that I need to repot and think about relocating them. My goal here is to have a grove of citrus trees along this fence, but I'm also going to make sure that I'm not planting too close to that air conditioner and also giving clearance and access to the hot water system. I do need to keep an area for grass as this is the main area where the dog and cat hang out. We'll eventually fully enclose the area to make it a catio. I initially thought about putting a bug net along here to enclose it completely and make it a pest-free growing space, but the wind just pummels through here and I think it would just get ripped off. I'll also utilize this area under the eaves to do a hydroponic system. I'm thinking of either doing a Dutch bucket system or potentially a passive wicking system. And I also want to install a hose-link retractable hose here, but I will have to save my pennies for that. So on with the project. The first thing that I'm going to do is plant my lemon and lime tree. I've gone with dwarf grafted varieties, a Eureka lemon and a Tahitian lime, and I intend on espaliering them to the fence, which is training them flat against the fence. Initially, I was thinking of using string lines and just training branches horizontally, but because citrus generally fruit on the new growth, I am going to go with a fan style instead. Citrus trees have shallow root systems and I wanted to ensure that they had enough space to spread out. We had previously untreated hardwood timber garden beds that we had to pull down and replace with wicking beds, so we utilised these to create raised beds. These beds are just 1.4 metres by 0.6 metres and 20 centimetres high. But before these beds are in place, I do want to stain this fence. A spray gun would have been a really good option, but I was really concerned about the overspray on the neighbour's very white house. So I'm just slowly going to be painting this fence, and for the moment I'm just doing it in sections because this small amount took me over 2 hours and I ran out of paint. Once my fence was stained, I leveled the area to put the garden beds in place. My original intention for our place was to have minimal grass, and initially this area was marked as a no grass area. But after having no grass for a few months, it definitely did make an impact on the heat of the area, so it's staying for now and we will see how it goes. This area is very uneven due to redoing our stormwater, and the clay soil has set like concrete. I will eventually get some topsoil to level it all out because walking along here sometimes feels like you're going to break an ankle. Instead of ripping up the grass, I've just layered with some cardboard, horse manure, and I raided our chickens' free range area for some soil. Betty. I also added half a bag of Searles 5-in-1 dig-in and then added some dolomite lime and rock minerals, plus some Epsom salts as our native soil is low on magnesium. Once the beds were full, I measured out the halfway point of the bed and used the auger on the drill to drill holes for the citrus. They had to go down a little bit deeper than the cardboard. Once my holes were dug, I dropped a small handful of slow-release organic extra and sprinkled some mycorrhizae on the root ball, which will help get it established. I backfilled and made sure not to go higher than the soil level was before. If you're after mycorrhizae, you can grab it from my website. Although I will be training these trees flat against the fence, I did offset them around 20 to 30 centimeters from the edge to allow room for the tree trunks to grow. I anticipate that after a year or so, these beds will only be citrus, but I'm not one to waste real estate in the garden, so I popped a few herbs and flowers in the corners for now. It'll be a bit of an experiment just to see what grows best with them. Next to my lemon, I planted some oregano and parsley and some petunia flowers. In with the lime, I had some garlic chives from the vertical garden that needed repotting desperately, and I had to evict an ant's nest. It went along with some summertime and petunias. Everything got a good water in, and then some seaweed extract to help with the transplant shock. I then covered it with a pine chip bark, which I always do wood chip mulch for trees, herbs, and berries. Just make sure you keep the area around the trunk free of mulch. All up, this part of this project was under $100, which did include the fruit trees, but it was using a lot of things that we already had, like the raised beds and the soil from the chicken run. Next up, I will need to get some weld mesh to attach to the fence to make the supports for the trees. I also have 2 more beds to set up and plant out 2 more citrus trees and lots more painting. But probably my most important job now is keeping Betty out of the garden beds. So that's the start of converting this area into a bit of a food growing zone. Make sure you like and subscribe to get updates on when we continue on with this project over the coming months. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.